Welcome to my Audio Tips and Tricks YouTube channel. I've been an audio enthusiast and music lover for over 40 years. Over this period, I've learned a few tips and tricks for improving the sound quality of my hi-fi music listening system, and would like to share some of them with you. XLR cables have been used in pro audio for many years to carry line-level analog signals between components such as microphones, mixers, and amplifiers. By sending a balanced signal over two wires instead of an unbalanced signal over one wire, as used in RCA interconnect cables, the signal can travel longer distances without degradation, and any noise that is carried with the signal is cancelled out. These are generic, no-name XLR cables that I bought from a musical instrument and pro audio store. They're fairly basic. They have a nickel cover and a rubber strain relief, and they're held down by a little Phillips set screw. So let's open one up and take a look inside. And pin number 1 is the ground. So the shield, if it is shielded, it does look like it's shielded, is going to the ground here. And let's see if the ground is grounded to the body of the XLR connector. Here's the ground wire. Here's the body, and no conductivity, so the ground wire is not connected to the housing. In recent years, XLR has found its way into hi-fi audio electronics for its lower noise and distortion potential. My Eversolo DMP-A6 streamer DAC has both RCA and XLR output interfaces, while my Topping Pre-90 preamp has both RCA and XLR input interfaces. Audioquest offers a broad range of XLR interconnects. Prices for a pair of half-meter XLR interconnects range from $245 for a pair of entry-level Red River to $6,350 for their top-of-the-line Dragon. There is, of course, incremental sonic improvements as one progresses up the line. Entry-level cables will be suitable for the majority of hi-fi audio systems, while top-tier cables are meant for ultra-expensive, highly resolving audio systems. Audioquest utilizes their best solid perfect surface copper plus wire, starting with the Mackenzie model all the way up to the Thunderbird model. If you want audiophile quality XLR and RCA cables, but at a lower price, consider the approach I took. Browse online audio market websites for long lengths of XLR cables like this one. 6 meters of a single Audioquest Mackenzie XLR cable for $100. This long cable was used to connect a subwoofer to an amplifier. This is a bargain price for someone wanting to use the cable to make their own interconnects. Since there are 3 conductors, the cable can also be used to make RCA interconnect cables that only require 2 conductors. These DIY cables won't sound the same as the factory assembled cables, but I'm hoping that at least 90% of the performance is attributable to the cable and only 10% or less to the connectors. Mackenzie cable uses a multi-layer shielding system to protect the signal from external airborne RF noise. There is a metallic foil outer shield surrounded by a carbon inner layer which surrounds another metallic shield contacting a drain wire that runs the length of the cable. These layers either absorb or dissipate external RF EMF radiation, preventing corruption of the audio signal traveling along high-purity solid core conductors. At the male end, I'm going to just check the continuity between the outer shield and the drain wire. There is some conductivity, perhaps going through the carbon layer. So I've done a drawing of all the different pins and their numbering. So there's a female XLR connector and a male XLR connector. And looking from the front, pin number 3 is in the middle, pin number 2 is on the left, pin number 1 is on the right. On the male XLR connector, pin number 1 is on the left, pin number 2 is on the right, and pin number 3 is in the center and stays in the same position. So the proper wiring is that pin 2 is wired to pin 2 over here, and pin 1 is wired over to here, and pin 3, which is the negative, is wired to pin 3 over here. And of course, if you're looking at it from the back, where you have to solder the various conductors, the ordering would be reversed. So you have two different types of connectors, 3 pins each, and the orientation of these 3 pins are different whether you're looking at it from the front or from the rear. So given all that, what's the probability of making a wiring error when you're building your own XLR cables? And in my case, the probability is very high. So what I actually did on my first attempt was pin number 2 was connected to pin number 1, and pin number 1 was connected to pin number 2. And the sonic impact of that is when I used this miswired cable in the right channel, it tended to skew the sound stage a little to the right instead of directly in the center. The Neutrik male and female XLR connectors have 3 signal connection points plus a separate ground point that comes into contact with the chassis of the component. The drain wire of the Mackenzie cable can be attached at the source end, which is the female XLR, the destination end, which is the male XLR, or at both ends, offering multiple grounding options. I've used these DIY Mackenzie XLR cables for over a year in my audio system with the inner shield grounded at both ends. A few weeks ago I lifted the ground wire at the destination end. When I reinserted the cables, the sonics seemed louder, more dynamic, with more precise imaging and a more holographic soundstage. I thought there might be something wrong with my ears, so I checked my hearing. My hearing is fine. Just lifting a ground to a cable shield should not result in such a dramatic change to the sound, so I decided to continue experimenting. For each grounding configuration, I used a signal generator app on my smartphone to play a 1000 Hz tone and a white noise signal using Bluetooth to my music streamer. And then I measured the signal levels at the listening position with a spectrum analyzer app on my tablet. The results are summarized in this chart and in these screenshots. Test 1 is the base case with the shield grounded at the source end. Test 2, the shield was grounded at both ends. Note the significant drop in signal levels. Test 3 is the same as the test 1 configuration, but this time I did not see the boost in signal level. Almost a 30 dB drop, in fact. The magic was gone. Test number 4, the shield was not grounded at either end. Test 5, the shield was grounded at the destination end. The results of tests 3, 4, and 5 are very similar. A difference of 2 to 3 dB can be attributed to setup differences and different measurement locations. Test 2, where the shield was grounded at both ends, which is the configuration I had been using for many months, seems to be the worst case from a signal level point of view. I could not replicate the base case, which is test 1, much to my chagrin. But wait, there's more. A week after these experiments, I was still trying to find a way to get the magic back that I experienced with the test 1 results. I decided to clean the male XLR pins of the source device and the male XLR pins of the cable going to the destination device. Test 6 shows the 1000 Hz and white noise signal levels after this procedure. These levels, in fact, are slightly higher than those of test 1. Once again, the music sounded more realistic, with performers seemingly suspended in space, performing live in my listening room. Bass was more prominent, too. I attributed these enhancements to the topping pre-90 preamp, as music from my records also seems more detailed, transparent, and holographic. Why this should be so is still a mystery to me. The topping pre-90, despite its lowly price, has been favorably reviewed as a top-notch audio preamp, but this extra step in sonic realism was totally unexpected. I didn't know my audio system was capable of this level of performance. Needless to say, I will not be making any changes to my audio system anytime soon, and will be re-listening to my favorite albums and music tracks. Compared to generic Pro Audio and DIY Canare XLR cables, the Mackenzie XLR cables sounded clearer with greater detail. I enjoyed a greater sense of engagement when I used the Mackenzie XLR cable with the shield grounded at one end only. DIY XLR cables using audiophile cabling can improve the sound quality of your audio system. Try different shield grounding options and do your own listening comparisons. You might be pleasantly surprised. Happy listening!